Alright guys, welcome back to another Stogie Lad cigar video. So I recently made a video on my top beginner cigars to smoke, those cigars that I found best for someone starting out in the world of cigars to dive into to sort of broaden their perspective and enter the world of cigars. And that got a lot of appreciation. It was really awesome to see. A lot of people agreed, a lot of people found it helpful, and that was just wonderful. I love helping even that tiny bit to help usher people into this wonderful world and community of cigars. So that was fantastic. So I thought I would build on that because I was thinking back to when I was getting started, and beyond just what cigars to smoke, I think it's very important to touch on the vast amount of accessories and things beyond the cigar itself in the cigar world. I mean, there's a lot of things that people ask about when it comes to cutting, lighting, storing of cigars. All of this is essential, but there's a difficulty of navigating through what is important and what is just noise and what you don't really need. So I was thinking back, like I said, to when I was starting out, and I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, which accessories that I picked out and which I shouldn't have picked out. And thinking back, I think it's good to give my perspective on what to avoid and what you actually need. So as you can tell from the title of this video, I'm gonna break down the essentials. So this is really what you need for that, first year or so of diving into cigars. If you're seriously giving this hobby some consideration, this is what you need. And my perspective here is on getting the good basics. So I'm not gonna give you the trashiest stuff because of course, if you want to actually give this a fair chance, you need stuff that'll get you through it. But it's also important to trim the fat, right? And get rid of what you don't need so you can focus on putting more of your focus and resources on the cigars themselves. Because I don't think it's good to spend $500-600 US dollars or euros or whatever on accessories when you could be spending that on new cigars to try to broaden your horizons there instead. Let's start with the absolute most essential stuff, which is obviously cutting and lighting the cigar. Without a cutter and lighter, you can't even smoke the cigar to begin with. And here I have some very important guidelines. So in terms of cutters, right? A lot of people will be starting out with these, cheap plastic cutters that you get oftentimes for free from cigar stores. Do not think that this will be enough. I mean, this is enough for about 10 cigars or so. There are two main issues, right? So I never even really used this cutter, and look at that quality. I haven't even really used this and it's already breaking. These are often really awful. I mean, these are from AliExpress or something, from Chinese factories, and the stores are getting them for about, 10 cents. This is good if you're, in high school and you're smoking a cigar at prom or whatever, and you just need one cutter for one night. But this is not going to get you anywhere. The main issue though, beyond the quality, is that the blades, I can just run my finger really easily. It's not sharp. They get blunt extremely fast. So you're going to have to replace this anyway. Just avoid buying this. If you get it for free, you don't need to turn it down, but there's no need to buy this cutter. It's much better to throw a little more money on something that is actually decent metal quality. This is one of those Cuban crafters style with a backstop. These are really good for beginners because you can't put the cigar too far in when you cut. That's a mistake that a lot of beginners make, that they put the cigar and cut a lot of it. You only really want to trim the cap. And I've made a whole video on cutting and lighting cigars that you can check out. So if you just upgrade and spend 10 or 20, 30 more dollars, you can get a real quality metal lighter and you won't have to worry about the quality breaking down on you. And you can set that part aside and just don't worry about cutting the cigar. Another adjacent sleeper pick that I will touch on, because a lot of people ask about the types of cutting, I recommend going for a straight cut when you're starting out. So you can do a classic straight cutter. You can also do cigar scissors. This is an underrated pick, I have to say. This looks like quite an extravagant tool. These are from Sisuman. Our friends over from Finland sent these over, and I'll have the link for these and their other accessories in the description. But this is a very easy tool for beginners. So it's very easy to just place the scissors on the top of the cigar, not have to go too deep. It's quite evident when you pass the line of where you need to go with scissors. So they're actually very, very easy to use. Most people have used scissors in their lives. So for a beginner, I think a straight cut or a cigar scissors will be the best move to go. A V cutter or a punch cutter, I have one on my keychain here. You can do it, but they're not as versatile. Bigger ring gauge cigars won't be good with a V cutter oftentimes, and definitely not with a punch. So there's no need to go that route. A straight cutter or scissors, which make a straight cut, will last you a long time. They'll work for any cigar, and you don't have to worry about cutting for at least a year or more until you want to get into the luxurious stuff And when you get really nerdy, you can go for something like this Liffing knife that you guys know we love here at this channel. But start out with the essentials: a straight cutter, scissors, and you'll be set. So next up we have lighters. Now, here you don't need to go as expensive. Now that may sound counterintuitive, but the reason is that cutters are more important in terms of the quality of the blade and the sharpness. With a lighter, all lighters produce flames. The flames are always equal, really. So as long as it's a reliable lighter, it'll work. I really think these cheap plastic lighters that you often can get, again, free at lounges, works super well. I've had some of these for years. They never seem to run out of gas. They're refillable and they always work. I mean, I don't know why these work so well compared to the cutters that are crap, but the lighters really do work really well. A single torch flame lighter will be perfect. Oftentimes as a beginner, you will be smoking a lot outside, maybe on your porch. So you want that torch flame that won't, you know, falter under the wind pressure. And that lighter is going to last you at least a year. I mean, I know a lot of aficionados that have smoked forever and they're still using these cheap lighters. And again, this is also from our friends at Cigar, but this is a nice, more classic, classy design. You can upgrade to something nice like this when you focused on the cigars and built yourself a nicer collection. So there you have the cutting and lighting. Now you can smoke your cigars, but as we all know, cigars need to be stored. Now I have an entire video on this concept, so I'm just gonna touch on this very fast. Go for a Tupperware container, please. If you have a Tupperware with a good sealing edge here, just get some Boveda packs or any other humidity packs that go two ways, toss that in, put on the lid, this seals. The Boveda pack will last for a year at least. It'll be perfectly humidified and you're set to go. Check out the full video on why you want to go with a Tupperware container, especially when starting out, but it is the way to go. I actually started out with a classic wooden humidor. You always think when you're starting out that that's the way to go because that's what you associate with humidors. They're so hard to control with humidity compared to a Tupperware container. I had one of those classic humidity pucks that came with the humidor. I had to toss out a few cigars because of mold. Boveda pack, Tupperware, it's cheap and it's more efficient. You'll thank me later, I swear. So with those things covered, you actually really have what you need to smoke a cigar, but there are a couple more accessories that I think are really quite essential and you'll be happy to have in the long run. So the first one is cigar glue. Now the reason this is actually a much better thing to choose in the beginning than not is twofold. First of all, cigars will often break, sometimes in shipping, sometimes you'll drop them, sometimes accidents happen. When the cigar leaf breaks on you, you can just paste a little bit of this cigar glue. It's made out of the same stuff that they use to paste on the caps on the cigars. And a cigar can be saved. And you know, these things cost nothing. Like they really do cost nothing and they can save a cigar that's worth more than the glue. And it also lasts forever. I've had this for about 2 years. There's like 90% left in it. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny commitment and it'll save some cigars for you in the long run. It's really worth having. Similarly, a perfect draw tool, something that will help with the draw is really important, especially if you smoke Cuban cigars. Cigars are a handmade product. Oftentimes they'll be rolled imperfectly and sometimes that imperfection will be too tight of a draw. A perfect draw tool can open up the draw of that cigar. Again, they're super cheap. They can actually gain back their value by saving a cigar that's worth more than the perfect draw tool itself. It costs nothing, it'll last you forever, and it can save a lot of cigars in the long run. If you have one of those, you'll thank me again later, because I think it's something that pays itself back very fast. So there you actually have the essentials. There's a lot of other tools and things that you might want that I'll talk about. An ashtray, of course. You know, a nice single ashtray can be very cheap. That's not a bad investment. You can use a lot of other things for ashtrays. Most people have things at home that you can use for an ashtray. You know, an ashtray is really just a glorified bowl. They're nice to have. I have tons of them, but they're not the most crucial. But of course, if you don't want to have a trashy look, it's always good to have an ashtray. Lastly, carrying cases are something that a lot of people go for. I think you'll end up getting a carrying case at some point in your cigar journey, but you don't need something luxurious to spend your money on like this to carry your cigars. Depending on how often you're carrying cigars, you know, something like this is nice to protect your cigars. But something that I survived on for a long time in the beginning are these, you know, just paper cases that you get when you buy cigars in stores. or online sometimes, you can just pop your cigars and keep one of these and use this. You know, it's going to protect your cigars perfectly well, and you're going to survive with this in the beginning. You don't need to spend your money on a carrying case, although it could be an attractive choice. So there you have it. If you've picked up some of the cigars in my cigar video of beginner cigars, and now you have some of these accessories, you're going to have everything you want in the beginning to get into cigars. And then you can upgrade as you go. That's part of the fun, right? You don't want to stick with a lot of this stuff forever. A lot of the fun is, you know, exploring new accessories and finding brands that you love. So I hope you guys felt that this helped a little bit as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, of course. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.